Hi guys, it's been so long. Welcome back to Books and I am Nicole, and I have been missing in action. So I just been a little busy. I think work has just started to pick up, and then I got a little sick, and then I had something happen to me on my metro system that kind of just I needed like a break. That ended up just seems, when it rains, it pours. If there's smoke, there's fire. It just seemed to start snowballing, and I'm good now. I took care of myself. I made sure I was good and ready to go so I can bring you my little nerdy book talk that I love to talk with you guys. And since I've been gone in a while, I figured I would just do a quick check-in with you guys and then do my February and March book recommendations. I only have four books because I really did not get to read that much in February and March. I read, but there wasn't that many that I would, one, want to put my name next to and be like, yes, read this. Two, I also didn't read as frequently or as consume as much as I normally did. And I think I'm going to start including my manhwas, which is the Korean version of like mangas. Although I think I'm saying the name wrong. If you know the correct pronunciation, link the Google pronunciation for me down below. Spell out the correct pronunciation down below. Just drop it in the comments down below. And while you're there, give this a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Because you really do help my channel become anything and everything that it is. Without you, I'm not going to go anywhere. But, I mean, hey, you do what you got to do. If you want to, So, my 4 books that I'm going to recommend. First one, 5 stars. 5 stars. I thought it was so good. I loved it. I could not put it down. I ended up staying awake until 3 a.m. to finish it. One, because it was longer than I thought it was. And 2, it was just so good. And I'm super excited to see the next book. And I think this is like a first-time author. I will check and put in the comments. Not in the comments below. I will put a little note here on the screen saying, nope, she's been around the block or 2. Or I would no, this is the first and only book she has out. But it's When the Moon Hatched. It's a fantasy romance. It does have spice in it, and it is pretty spicy, which I did not. I always get surprised by how spicy, like it might have explicit scenes in it. So this book is not. This book would be rated R for mature. So go by the movie ratings. Think of it like that way. You should be 18 or older. Truthfully, I think you should be 21 and older. But anyways, the spicy was good. If you don't like it, books with spice in it, it was easy to skim through it or pass over the scenes. It wasn't like it took away from it. There's parts of it where it's like it played into the plot line, but it wasn't anything that you couldn't page through quickly and still understand what's going on. But it was so good. So what it is we follow this character who has no memory of her past. Only about 5 or 4 years ago is where her memory starts. And all you know is that somehow she's become an assassin or part of a guild that she's been blood packed into, so she is sometimes puppeted and controlled. She loves to tear apart bad guys to take the joy out of it, which when you read the description of what the bad guys have done, it makes sense why she takes joy out of it, being these mainly males apart. And all of a sudden, she is caught because the hunter that was hired to hunt her down, pretty much, truthfully not her, but her organization, stabbed, and it ends up leading to the death of a person she loved and cared for. And she goes on a revenge hunt and gets caught by the kingdom, and then is set up to be killed by being eaten by a dragon. And then she's rescued And that's where the story really takes place, is following all of the things that happen to her after she's been rescued, because she reminds this king, who is just as bloodthirsty, he is known to be very bloodthirsty, finds her to be very familiar, but she, like I said, doesn't have no memory. So read it. That's all I can say. It's good. It was really, really good. If you like fantasy and you like romance and you like spice, it was like a good, so good. I get 5 stars. It's by Sarah A. Parker. Next one I would also 5 stars. The Poppy War. This is something that has been around for a hot minute. This is by R.F. Kong. She's also the one who wrote Biblion, which my mom read and told me that I would probably like, but I didn't read. Instead, I read The Puppy War, which I am now on the hunt to get the next 2 books in this series, because this is a trilogy, and it was so good. You have this character who is an orphan who has been taken in by family that definitely abuses her, and she's like a poppy runner or a counter, because her adopted family runs a poppy shop underground, because it's illegal, obviously. And she ends up seeing that if she continues on the path that she is, she will be sold into marriage, because that's what we love to do to women in the past, in the olden days, was sell them to the highest bidder, or just to get them out of the house. And she did not want to be married. She was very much fearful of having to give birth and all of that. So she ends up going to a scholar that was in town and studying for this test, where if you get in, you can go to the colleges, and if you score a certain percentile, you will be accepted into the top school, and they will pay for your home and board and tuition. And so she studies for this, and of course, homegirl gets in. And that is when the story begins. She starts discovering the world of the gods. You learn about a whole island that was like a country of its own that was sacrificed, and how they had magical abilities. And it's just, it was also very good, especially if you can tie in a lot of the Chinese history, if you know a lot of Chinese history, Japanese history, it definitely shadows. There's an echo of that definitely inspired this author. And it was so nice for me to consume a book that wasn't using Western history or American history, which that technically is Western history. But it was refreshing and intriguing, and it just reminded me of my degree in Asian studies, and refreshed kind of my memory of like, oh, I remember us talking about this and such during X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, it's a different perspective of like a white story, because it's definitely heavily influenced by Chinese history. So it was just nice. And that Poppy War is the first book in the series. There's 2 more afterwards. I'm going to read that. I'm hoping it maintains this 5-star status, because it was so good. It did not have spice in it. I think this is a young adult novel. So that definitely, if you maybe don't want to read like When the Moon Hatched, which is definitely an adult story, this is another author, and it's also like fantasy. It's hitting at romance, but it's also, we're growing with the character, and I mean like growing as in she started as a 13, 14-year-old, and by the end of it she's like 15 or 16. So as she's maturing, as she's growing, as she's becoming more of a woman, as she's settling into who she is and her sexuality, it starts hitting at romance that we haven't fully explored, but I'm excited to see how she grows in the second book. And the character growth in this story was phenomenal and so interesting to watch. I love the character growth in this one. Was like in When the Moon Hatched, I liked the anti-hero, not a good protagonist, very broken and very jaded hero. I liked that in When the Moon when the moon hatched, whereas this one is I'm growing and trying to figure out what is right, what is wrong, and the struggle. And it was more very realistic to see a lot of the struggle, a lot of the internal conflict that was happening. Then you have Deadweight. This I'm not going to talk a lot about because it's like the 5th or 6th book in this book series that I've been reading. Every single one has been very good. I think it's classified as an adult, but it does not have spice in it, at least not. It has a tasteful hint of, I would just call it romance. It's a fantasy romance, and it has been nice to consume, nice to learn about a lot of different mythologies that I myself may not have known, and I really enjoyed it like that. So I highly, highly recommend it, and that's by Annabelle Chase. She's one of the authors that I often read and enjoy to read, but in this case, so in the first book of that series, you go to this town that's on like a fault line, and it just draws in supernatural creatures. One creature that it draws in is our main character. She bought what they call Bluebeard's castle. If you don't know the story behind Bluebeard, then you should. It's reminiscent of like what we would a modern time called a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but Bluebeard is one of the older ones, and also a lot of propaganda behind that version. But she lives in Bluebeard's castle that's been run down, abandoned, next to her graveyard, and there's ghosts because our main character, female leading road lady, she can talk and / control ghosts, and she's just trying to hide, but she's trying to also find a place where she belongs. And the series just shows as she's getting accumulated, interacting with the characters of this town, trying to understand if this is where she belongs, if it's not where she belongs. And it's just phenomenal to watch her grow and change and adapt as she has been pretty much, what is the word? When she's accepting herself. And it's been refreshing to watch as she understands that she was raised a certain way and it was done in a way to protect her, but there was damage done, and she has to come to an understanding of who she wants to be now that she's an adult and she can make the decisions, because what was working for her when she was younger, first of all, never really was working for her, not in that like a mental health capacity. Excuse me. But now as an adult, she gets to call the shots. She gets to decide if she wants to continue running or if she wants to make a home for herself. And it seems like she has decided to make a home for herself. And it's been very nice to watch this character grow and develop herself as a person. So those are my 4 recommendations, right? 1, 2, sorry, 3. I only have 3 recommendations, guys. I'm so sorry. Maybe April will have more. I'm still accumulating and getting myself back together. But yeah, thanks so much for coming in and watching me try to create this YouTube channel. And just know that everything you do on the channel really, really does matter. And I notice everything that happens. So thank you for supporting me so far. Yeah, thanks so much. I couldn't do this without you. Thanks for watching. Bye.